Awesome. Welcome.
We're so happy to be here today, right, Tammy? As always.
Exactly. And we just want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for those who are going to be listening later. We appreciate you. We want to say thank you to all the amazing guests we have had. And of course, today we have a last minute guest here, Eric, who's amazing also. And we're so excited to have him. So welcome, Eric.
Thank you for having me, Lori and Tammy.
Yes. So
course.
life throws last minute curveballs, and this is a good one that was thrown at us. We jumped at the opportunity. We've been wanting to have Eric for a long time. He shares valuable insights, valuable nuggets of wisdom, because he does care about your physical body and how to live without chronic pain. So I am just excited to hear, Eric, what is it that inspired you or got you into this field?
Well, I used to think that exercise was just to improve sports because I've been athletic my whole life. I was very fortunate. My father taught me tennis and baseball, so I was just running around chasing balls for fun. So I thought, exercise was improving sports performance. Then I found out, exercise is for weight loss. But it wasn't until my father, who was very active, had his first heart attack at 55, which shocked me and our family, but he went to cardiac rehab and lived another 30 years after that. And then my mother had dementia because she was a lifetime smoker and never exercised. She had dementia in her late 60s. So that's where I really found out that exercise is medicine and that it can make a huge difference in somebody's life in terms of quality of life. Usually it's going to add to longevity, but there's actually something now called health span. How long do I live healthy and well? So that's really what has motivated me to do what I do. It's definitely my passion.
Fantastic. And was there a contrast between what you saw in each of your parents with this? I love that story, Eric. And if you share it with us, that will be so awesome.
Well, my father was always active. He was always running around with us, chasing tennis balls or baseballs, and always was outside. So, I mean, for me, it's very fortunate that exercise wasn't punishment. So many people are like, I have to exercise. But he was always there playing around. My mom, conversely, never exercised. She was the kind of person, I love the saying, when she thought about exercise, she'd lay down till that thought went away. She just did not exercise. And as a smoker, she would always think, well, what do the neighbors think? And I'd say, Mom, the neighbors will think you're exercising. There's, she was such a conscious person about doing it. So she never exercised. And she was always having these issues, health issues. Whereas my dad was very, very vibrant. It was, like I said, I think the stress of being a physician and probably not eating the best diet, he got his heart attack. But like I said, he lived to 85 years old, despite having his first heart attack at 55. So the contrast of doing those things, being active, and then changing to a healthier diet, whereas my mom did not do that, I could see the huge difference just in my parents alone. Such a dichotomy.
So it's just so funny. Go ahead, Tammy.
Oh, I was going to say, I can totally relate to everything you're saying, because when I fell and ended with my brain injuries and my tumors, that is one of the things several of the doctors said, even though I wasn't supposed to live, but you've got to make sure you always exercise daily and stretch and eat healthy. And I've always cooked from scratch and have my own garden. But those two things are so important to me anyway, because that's how I live.
You're probably a great example of that, Tammy. you traumatic brain injury, like, oh my gosh, what's going on? You're doing the things that you said, hey, I believe these things will help me, and you're living proof of that.
Thank you.
I want to comment, Eric, if you let me, on the differences of your mom and your dad's behavior and actions, right, towards this. And it's so interesting how our mental blockages, like our limiting beliefs, can get in the way of a healthier life. like your mom's like, okay, maybe her smoking, I heard you saying that she used to smoke, right? So maybe her neighbors were more aware of that because of this smokes, the smell, than her. Like, why would the neighbors be a concern to her? It's like, my question is like, if you do it in your own four walls of your own home, who needs to know? Or if you go on a walk, that's something amazing to do. So I just wanted to comment on that. And if you are watching, what are your mental blockages around movement, around physical health? Because here we are to help you get rid of those. And Eric is an amazing person to help you. I mean, just with this story of the contrast of what happened to his mom versus his dad. At 55, he had a heart attack, which he was able to recover and bounce back from. Eric, did that health situation or episode help your dad be even more healthy, or he was already as healthy as he needed to be at the time, and he was just embracing and celebrating the fact that he was able to recover so well?
No, I think, Lori, I mean, great question, because I think my dad had thought that, hey, as long as I exercise regularly, everything will be fine. But when I looked a little bit deeper, I saw that he was exercising less. He was under a lot of stress because he was a physician, and then he wasn't eating the best as well. So, the signs were probably there that something was going to happen. But then when he had his heart attack, and luckily my stepmom came in and said, hey, you are going to eat well now. So she was the enforcer to saying, you're going to eat well from this point on. Yes, he knew about exercise, and he did go to his cardiac rehab, but he had to adjust his lifestyle. And I do think, we've talked about it, Lori, in terms of mindset. He had to just say, hey, this is something I have to do to survive, not only survive the heart attack, but to thrive after the heart attack. And he was very resilient. He had some other health issues. He had another heart attack. He had a stroke, but he would just bounce back because he knew what to do. And I really think that because he had the mindset to, I'm going to do whatever it takes and I'm going to change, and he had the support system, which is important, that he did have a good quality of life all the way up to 85.
So Eric, I have a question for you. And this happens because I see this so often. People are diagnosed with like MS, different diseases, cancer, fibromyalgia, these different things. And it's almost like they get bedridden. They think that if they exercise or move, it's going to be worse. When in actuality, when you don't move is when you are worse.
Sure. I mean, it's just what Lori said. I mean, and what Lori and I have had discussions about mindset. There's a saying called learned helplessness. And I think, unfortunately, our medical community kind of lends contributing to, they say, doc, what should I do? What should I do? And they go, oh, they're telling them what they can't do. Oh, you can't do this and you can't do that. And so they're still like, oh, I have this and that's it. I mean, a great example is I had a client who was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and she had a great mindset. She goes, all right, well, I have, and I spoke with her. I said, you have control over the rate of decline. If we do the work, if you eat well, there's a lot of things you can do. And she lived 20 plus years, way past her diagnosis. She was very, very functional. Now, conversely, I had another client. She was diagnosed with Parkinson's. She said, oh, no, I know. Oh, I hear all these things and you get trapped in your body. And she didn't change her diet. She did not want to work out. She lived another 2 years. And it's tough to see that. So I agree with you, Tammy, that, a lot of people kind of go the wrong way. They say, oh, this is a disease. This is basically a death sentence. I'm just going to sit here and just wilt away. Whereas there's some people who say, no, I'm going to fight this. I'm going to prove those people wrong. You're a great example of that. You're like, hey, I'm going to do what it takes. And might start slow, especially if someone hasn't exercised at all before. I said, but hey, if I want to have a quality of life, I'm going to survive this. It's not a death sentence. Even MS because before we
Yeah.
thought, hey, I would tell people you have to be careful to not work too hard because you don't want to generate too much heat. But even with MS and a lot of things, the right diet with the right exercise program
Yes.
can alleviate. And in some people, I mean, again, I really think it comes down to mindset as well. They eliminate a lot of those diseases that the doctor said, oh, you just have this and you just have to live with it, or, you know, get your affairs in order because you have a limited time left. So it's just interesting how in the last decade or so, I've realized that the mind-body connection and the gut-body connection is so critical to health span and living well longer.
Well, exactly. And like what you said, exercise or spending time out in nature, or when we spend time with doing art projects or different projects, being creative, it helps with our pain management. You know, in my experience, yeah, I still have headaches 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, right?
Mm.
But it all depends on what I'm doing. And I know that it's like, okay, it's time. I need to go for a walk. I need to go do this. I need to go and do something totally different to get my mind off of it, you know. And we're talking about for your lifestyle, sometimes you have to just rest, you know, go and enjoy something. I have to walk when I'm hurting, you know.
Wow.
I have to go swimming or do something totally different, or stretch or exercise. And that's, you know, I know some people would like, no, I'm just going to lay down. But I always looked at it as everybody's going to die someday,
Mhm.
sadly. But today's not my day.
Oh my
I'm going to
goodness.
live it to the fullest.
Yeah. My grandma, Tammy, my grandma and my father-in-law say more people die in bed than being in movement and doing things and being active. And what a beautiful thing you do to make that conscious decision to go outside and move around instead of laying in bed stuck there. And no disrespect to people that can't move at all, or
Right.
that, you know, it's hard for them. But at the same time, getting yourself out one way or another to breathe fresh air, to get the vitamin D you need, etc., is very important and makes a big difference. I have a story like Eric, my husband was diagnosed with a terminal disease, and he found his traditional medical, you know, doctors were doing great things with their approaches, but he also found an institute that did holistic approaches. And what they say is that they practice functional and integrative medicine using modern science and ancient wisdom to achieve health and balance. And I just read that straight from their website. What I'm thinking is that we live in such amazing times that we have the perfect combination of the ancient wisdom, right, in holistic ways, plants, nature, and movement, like Eric is an expert of, and we're going to get into that pretty soon here. And then also the modern conveniences, modern technologies, modern therapies, right, to help with all that. So, Eric, chronic pain is a complex issue. What unique strategies or techniques have you developed to address it? I know you've been able to help so many people with your techniques, with your strategies, with your protocol.
Chronic pain is, any pain is a signal. And I teach that. I said, your body is telling you something to pay attention to. We just have to play detective. And a lot of times we just want to put a Band-Aid on that. You know, oh, I'm going to use a pain med. I'm not a huge fan of pain meds because a lot of times it doesn't fix the pain. You just don't care about the pain. And I think that's a big problem with opioids. But what we do, and my approach is, okay, let's play detective. What's the underlying cause of that? Where is that chronic pain? What's the underlying cause? What are the steps we can take? So when you talk about complex issue, we do want to change diet. We do want to change mindset. And then my part is we want to see how the body moves around that pain area. So for example, a lot of people have chronic back pain. Well, can we get their hips to move better? Can we get their shoulders and their above and below the painful area to move better? And that does, you know, that's not going to the gym and lifting weights or going out and running. and just toughing it out. It's about getting the body to move as it's supposed to, because a lot of times when people have pain, the body compensates. And we want to get those normal movement patterns back. And a lot of times it can be something in the foot, it can be something in the knee, and you can work on the shoulders and the hips, and the pain is reduced significantly. And then what Tammy said is we can also put ourselves in a position where we're doing something that we really love. We change the mindset, because it's really been shown that our attitude about that pain, am I a victim or am I going to overcome this, will modulate the amount of pain we are experiencing. So for me, I get the body to move better above and below. And yes, we try to figure out the root cause. But in terms, when you talk about a complex issue, we want to approach it and we want to treat it in multiple modalities, whether it's diet, mindset, and exercise. And usually you have very, very positive results with people who have been suffering from chronic pain for a long period of time.
Wow, definitely, definitely. We have Renee and Cindy Flores watching live with us. So please tell us where you're watching from, ask questions, because he is a plethora of knowledge on this. And obviously, Tammy, I remember Tammy and I had a little meeting getting together with all of you in our minds, because this is why we're here. We like to serve you and plan for the future. And she was complaining of a headache. And I'm like, oh my goodness, when she told me she has a headache basically every day of the year at every time, I was worried. And then at the end of the conversation, I'm like, Tammy, I hope you feel better and blah, blah, blah. And she says, Lori, I already feel better. And I'm like, why? He's like, oh, this conversation and everything we were doing and talking about just makes it feel better. And when she says that, it's so amazing to realize that being distracted, right? And having uplifting conversations and planning for the future and something that's exciting can help distract the mind and get it off of that pain, right? Distract the mind and go in nature or go swimming or whatever to make it better. And also even talking with a good friend or focusing in a good project rather than focusing. And Eric, you have said this plenty times today, like mindset.
Mindset is everything.
Like mind over matter. Yes. So there is hope then, huh, Eric? There is hope for people that struggle with this pain. So what message of hope and healing would you like to share with them, other than everything you've said already?
Well, my approach is when someone comes to me, they're curious. They've tried a lot of different things. And I'm saying, okay, let's try this approach that is multifaceted. Because I realize that, they're in the cycle of despair. They're like, oh, I've tried everything, it still hurts. My doctor says I can't do anything about it. And I just hurt every day. But I said, let's just start with moving your foot. Let's just start with movement that your body tolerates. And we want to get out of that negative cycle and into the positive cycle. And it's very powerful when they start to believe, hey, that works. I can do that. And there's certain things that people have maybe not done in forever, whether it was, told they couldn't do it or they told themselves they couldn't do it. And so we just start the process of getting out of that negative cycle and that process of hope and looking at the future, like you said. But when they start moving, it's amazing what I've seen in a lot of my clients. They just start to move and then they start to brighten up a little bit and they go, wow, I didn't know I could do that. And hey, that doesn't hurt. Oh, okay, well, let's move your knee joint. And then we got to the point where there's pain, like, oh, I don't know, and I go, okay, there's good pain and bad pain.
Yes.
And let's go ahead and let's just move the area, because I tell them sometimes it's like a rusty gate. It makes noise the first time you move it, but as we move it more, the noise goes away. And a lot of times when they start moving a little bit more, now the pain actually decreases. And they're like, I have the ability to decrease my pain from a physical standpoint. These are some exercises that I can do. So at first, we're just going to work on joint flexibility, moving the joints, what kind of range of motion somebody has, regaining normal range of motion. Then we work on the coordination and we work on the balance and saying, hey, one side's probably not working better than the other. Let's try to get them to work together. And then they just start getting in that very positive cycle, Lori, where they're like, oh, I can do this. Oh, I can do that. And we just keep going incremental step by step So, the exercise that I teach is very neurologically based. I just want to train them to move and use those signals of pain and non-pain to say, okay, let's keep moving forward. Let's keep moving forward, even if it's baby steps, but they are progressing. And it's amazing to see how their mindset and their mind just changes, because now it's like, oh, I can do that. Oh, I probably can. Oh, I can. I have been moving more. Oh, I have been having less pain.
Yeah.
And they get in that very, very positive cycle. Now we can make some really good changes. And I've had clients who were bedridden and in wheelchairs and had just chronic pain for 20 years. And through this approach, just the slow, tiny baby steps, changing their body, changing their mindset, changing their diet. I've had some people have some incredible results and get back to being the vibrant, active person they always wanted to be.
Well, I can just tell from listening to you, Eric, you actually listen to your clients. That's the biggest problem that I noticed. I mean, I was blessed with some great doctors, but I went through 5 doctors who didn't believe me at first. I've gone through, horrible doctors are like, oh, you can't have that pain. There's no way you have a brain tumors and all this stuff, They would make up crud. We'll put it nicely. Or there's nothing wrong with your knee, and yet my kneecap's like moving back and forth, and and I had to have 4 hours of surgery on it. But it's amazing how many doctors or nurses, different people don't listen. And if you want a good coach or a good physician, you've got to look for that person who actually listens to you and understands you. They're trying to understand where that pain's coming from, what your life's like, so they can actually help you. Because if they don't, they're not going to be able to help you at all. It's just a waste of time. So I love the fact that you listen, Eric. Thank you.
Yes.
I mean, you hit it on the head, but it's also important to get the people to listen to their own bodies.
Exactly.
A lot of times I say people just don't have body awareness. They don't know what's going on. I've actually worked with somebody and said, wow, did you change the weight on this? It got harder. I go, no, that's a thing called fatigue. It means your muscle is working. And so really, getting them to turn their attention inward and listen to their own body. Yes, I listen to them and I get them to listen to it as well, because I'm not with them all the time. I want them to pay attention to those signs, even pain. Okay, but let's grade your pain. If you're doing something, does it get better, worse, or stay the same? That can be a useful tool for somebody as well, because we want to teach them to not only, do the exercises, change their eating patterns, change their mindset, but to listen and have that dialogue with their body and say, oh, okay, that feels better. Oh, okay, I'm not feeling so great today. Maybe I take it a little easier today. And when they're turning their attention inward and listening to their body and not just being overwhelmed by these really loud pain signals, it's amazing how much change they can make.
I have a very complex, we're talking about pain, chronic pain is complex, and then our bodies and our minds are complex. But here is a complex reflection on all this. So there's 2 type of people or things that are happening nowadays in society, I think. People are afraid of pain, and therefore you hear all this about opioid addiction and painkillers, and then moms that are pregnant haven't even had one baby, and from their first pregnancy, because they are so afraid and scared of pain or what that could look like. I mean, there's been babies born since the earth was formed, and then all of a sudden lately women are afraid to have babies because of the pain that could cause. And actually, when I was having my first of 8 babies, I learned the art of Lamaze and breathing and mind over matter. Like, you can control this pain or manage it in a way that it will be pleasant, it will be fine, tolerable, so you can have your baby in a natural way. And nothing wrong with the other ways to have babies, but and they need to happen in emergencies. But then I hear like all these women already saying all the time, oh, give me the medicines, I don't want to even go through pain. So there's that fear of pain. And it's not that pain is enjoyable, but like you say, Eric, pain is just your body speaking. So, and then there's also the people that condition themselves to live with this pain, are not body aware, and they don't listen to their body, or are so conditioned to it that are miserable, and they are settled into, okay, I cannot lift this arm for the rest of my life, I won't. Or I will have that drastic surgery where they're going to chop it, they're going to explore in there, and who knows what's going to happen afterwards. So this is why I said I warned you that this was kind of complex. So what do you have to say about that? About individuals that are skeptical about holistic approaches to pain management, or people that are conditioned to it, to the pain?
Well, I always ask people what they've done in the past to alleviate the pain.
Hmm.
And then if they still have it, I say, how's that working for you? And if you still have it, obviously it's not working for you, but we also have to break it down. And so I give them another approach. And my approach has been very, very successful for, over 30 years I've been doing it. But I agree with you. There are other tools. I mean, we haven't even touched on meditation. You touched on breathing. Biofeedback is getting, you're in tune with your body, and you're using your own body to help heal your own body. And so those are things that what I do with people is I say, what have you done in the past? Because I want to know. And then they've had surgeries, and did they have physical therapy? It's amazing how many people don't have even physical therapy after a joint replacement. The doc says, okay, you're done. Oh, should I do anything else? No, you're good to go. And I'm just shocked at that. And then sometimes they have physical therapy and then they don't do anything, like, oh, I'm going back to my sedentary life. I go, you got a new lease on life. Mm-hmm. But it hurts. I go, well, it hurts because let's find out why it's hurting. Mm-hmm. And when we start moving them and the pain goes down, now I have an alternative thing to do. So I'm not going to slam traditional medicine. There are some shortcomings. My father was a great physician. He always listened to his patients. Maybe that's where I got it from, is, learn to listen. I saw my father just sit and listen and let the person, usually the person can tell the story and they can almost figure it out themselves. I always say I'm just the tour guide, but now we have the tools. We can use biofeedback, we can use tapping, we can use breathing, we can use meditation, we can use movement, which is basically just retraining the body to move correctly out of those dysfunctional pain-causing patterns. Sometimes people need medication. I'm not arguing the fact, but again, I always believe that opioids and the opioid is so much easier to give somebody a medicine and just say, okay, I'm going to give you a pill. And some people ask for it, Lori. Some people just say, doc, I know I should exercise and I know I should eat better, but just give me the pill.
Yeah.
And that's frustrating too, because those are probably people that I will never touch, because they just want the easy way out. They're not willing to do any work at all.
Right.
But there are certain times for medications, but there's so many supplements. There are so many natural ways that we can heal our body and reduce inflammation in the body. And these are all the things over the last 15, 20 years. I worked at a wellness resort in Arizona, and it opened my eyes to these alternative things. So when I think holistic, I think, hey, there's traditional medicine, there's alternative medicine, there's Chinese medicine. I want to use what's best for the person, but I also want to show that person that there is another way, and there is a way to reduce their chronic pain.
Yeah, it's amazing. And diet, like you were mentioning, gut health is huge. I'm sure you can expand on that even. So.
Well, I let the experts in diet, and I refer out, but I also talk to them about, hey, it's a multi-pronged approach to reducing your pain. You want to reduce inflammation in your body. Some of the way you eat can either create more inflammation or less inflammation. The way you sleep can create more inflammation or less inflammation. The way you move can create more inflammation or less. So, we take that multi-pronged approach, very holistic approach. But I do believe that, yes, diet, and there's so much evidence coming out right now, how we eat that. And it's different for each person. It's not one size fits all, just like, someone wants to be on keto, someone wants to be on paleo, someone wants to be on Atkins. It's like, no, you have to make the changes slowly, because sometimes you want to say, what are you willing to incorporate? What do you want to add in that's healthy? What do you want to slowly take out? So we could talk about a whole nother hour on diet, but there's other experts that are much better than I, and I just refer a lot of times, and I'm always asking them as well too. But it's what we're finding out is that the body is all this super connected thing, that how we move, how we sleep, how we perceive things, how we, all these things are the end product. And sometimes it can be a lot less pain and a lot more joy.
Wonderful.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Tammy. Sorry.
I was going to say positive mindset is the way to start your day, being positive and thankful. And I'm like you, I meditate, I pray actually before I even get out of bed, because to me, that's the way I have to start my day. And I want to set the mood for the day, it's in positive.
Well, it's like, Tammy, it's like diet. It's what works for that person, whether it's prayer or meditation. My meditation is exercise. I go out and I'm just hear myself breathing rhythmically on a run or when I'm riding my bike, being out in nature. That's my meditation. I do that every morning. It just sets my mindset. So some people, it's like, oh, I don't believe in that meditation stuff, and oh, I don't believe in this. You have to find what works for them. Hey, are you willing to just clear your mind? Are you willing to get outside and listen to birds chirping? Are you willing to just focus on your 3 deep breaths?
However that looks like for them, right?
Whatever it looks like for them.
So I can attest of that. Eric and I met in a trip, in a retreat, in an event, and every morning I could attest, like he would go out and run in the hill. And it's funny because he didn't think he was going to have access to a washer and dryer, and he brought a huge suitcase. And I'm like, dude, why? You packed like a diva, or what's going on? And then he told me, oh, I work out every day, and I didn't think I was gonna have access to a washer and dryer, and I have a workout outfit for every day. And he was out there every morning, early. And I see a couple of things here. I see a frog there on top of your I don't know if it's a terrarium or what. And you said joy. When my husband was going through his thing, he also spoke to the amazing curative power of humor and laughter. And there's a frog up there. So what do you think I'm going to ask you, Eric?
Maybe a little impression of Kermit the Frog.
Yes, he does that very well.
I don't have a Kermit. I do not have a Kermit, but yes, when my clients get to know me a little bit better, I definitely try to add humor, because laughter is medicine as well. So I can talk like Kermit. I go, hi ho, Kermit the Frog here. Our special guest is Tammy and Laura.
And that's what I wanted. I wanted you guys to see that side to Eric. That is so fun. And
that's great. But and actually you're gonna have to just come visit me with Lori when Lori comes, Eric. But it's like I walk outside, you're talking about frogs, because I walk outside and I make sure before I mow the lawn, it's like, okay, Froggy, go get in the pond so I don't hit you. I walked down yesterday and the chickens are hanging out with the bunnies, and there's a Bambi in the yard, and I go over and the little baby chipmunks like begging me for feed, It's funny. I am so blessed that I have so much wildlife, but that's another thing I do every morning is go outside just to, I don't know, there's just something about it when you're able to walk out in the woods, and we have a nice yard and stuff, and just to take it in and breathe this, like right now it's raining outside, but that scent of the fresh scent of rain, it's like when we see the positive and the beautiful things that are in our world, it helps take our mind off. Because I notice those when people are negative or watching the news and different things all the time, they don't even realize what the response is like, if that makes sense. Because sometimes I know that if I'm watching you're starting getting almost negative, depressed, I guess would be a word for it. But when we walk outside and we come back and we're positive, then we're happy. And then you can joke, you laugh. I mean, I'm always laughing at all of the wildlife that's around me because they do so many things. And I'm like, oh man, I should just write a story about this. When I'm feeding my baby chickens and the baby chipmunks are sitting there in line with the baby chicks, begging for food. I mean, it's kind of funny looking.
That is so cute. Nature and art are definitely both powerful. And to your point, Tammy, Eric is also one of the persons that contributes with pictures of him out in nature. When you say, hey,
Exactly.
post a picture of you, nostalgia Thursday, or, throwback Thursday. And he contributes a lot with those pictures. And also he has video challenge where he shares a lot of great pointers on moving and exercise and movement. And he's usually out in his yard or on a walk or something. So Eric, thank you so much for sharing that. And how do you enjoy nature for your workouts and all that? Like you said already, like you like to run and be out in nature. So thanks for sharing that. And is there anything else you want to add about how nature helps you?
Well, it's funny because you talk about nature and art, but I think, I want to be out in nature. I want to work out outside. Is every chance I get to be outside, vitamin D, but my meditation, all those things. It's a little hard when you're in Arizona. If you don't do it first thing in the morning, it's 108 degrees, but I can do it first thing in the morning. So again, just have to be a little bit disciplined to get up early. But I think of nature as art. When you capture that moment, Tammy, of those animals, playing against each other, it only, there's a snapshot. That's if you saw that in a photo, it would make you smile and make you laugh. I mean, I love the posts that people do about animals and nature. It just kind of, you're going to be in a very positive frequency and cycle when you see those things. I stay away from all the negative. I don't even watch the news other than maybe to watch the weather. And then they start talking about how negative. Like, okay, I'm done. I just wanted to see,
Exactly.
see if the storm was coming or not. So it just puts you in that positive cycle, and you just really start to say, now the mindset, now the energy is so much more positive, and energy attracts energy. So positive energy is going to attract positive energy. Really important for healing. And negative energy is really hard to heal when your body's in a negative state of energy. So using nature as a powerful source of inspiration, we got to find what works for us and puts us in that positive energy state.
Exactly. So where was the photo taken that you posted last week with your dog up on the top mountaintop?
That is at the top of Mount Lemon. So we have just in our backyard, we have a 9,000 foot mountain called Mount Lemon. And it's such a blessing to have that because, when it's 108 degrees, you go to the top and it's only 70, maybe 80 degrees. You say, okay, I got out of the heat and now I'm in the trees. I'm in the pine trees. I can go hiking. My dog is, one of my greatest training partners because she's loves to be outside as well.
So they're in your backyard. Wow.
Awesome.
It's maybe, you can, within half an hour, 45 minutes, we can be all the way up at 9,000 feet.
That's awesome. So there you have it, guys. This is our group member and friend, Eric Alikpala. And not sure if you can hear, speaking of dogs, my dog Barky. I enjoyed this conversation, Eric. Thank you so much for sharing with the audience on how to be healthier, how to understand that movement helps them improve their health, their fitness. And thank you so much for being here.
Well, and now, Eric, did you have a summit coming up here that we needed to mention?
Oh, yes.
I do. Well, two things. We can definitely talk about the summit in terms of I'm having a summit on pain reduction. Basically, it's called Transform Pain to Joy. I have about 6 or 7 speakers that are going to talk about anti-inflammatory diet. They're going to talk about mindset. I talk, and another one of my colleagues talks about the movement as medicine, and there's things we can do that can reduce our pain. So that's on Thursday at 10 a.m. PST. People can kind of go to my Facebook page and find out the information about that. But I also I'd be remiss if I didn't have a couple of different exercises for you guys to do while you're right here before we go.
Love it.
So we've all been sitting, right? So the first thing we're going to do is just put our arms up it's almost like a touchdown. But what I want you to do is I want you to pull your shoulder blades down. So you're just kind of contracting whatever motion you can. It's like you're trying to pull. You can see how my shoulders are moving down. So you're just kind of pulling down, activating those back muscles. And you just hold that for a few seconds, breathe through it. Keep breathing. Don't hold your breath. A lot of times I have to remind people, okay, breathe. Because when they do something new, it's like, okay, now we're going to go straight out to the side. I can kind of do it here. And the same thing, you pull your shoulder blades together. Again, we're offsetting all that sitting we've been doing and just activating those upper back muscles. And now you're going to kind of make like a W. I'm going to back up a little bit. So we're kind of making a W, and we're going to squeeze again. We squeeze back and together the shoulder blades. All we're doing is just isometrically activating those muscles in the back. And then we're going to pin it down here. And again, we're going to squeeze. And what I like to do to add the shoulders is we just do a little rotation, internal, external rotation. But all we did was activate those upper back muscles. And those are the ones we need for posture. So thanks for giving me a little bit extra time, because I want to just let everyone, we probably people here are sitting, and I said, let's break up that sitting a little bit besides standing up, which, you know, a lot of times I will do that too.
Well, I was going to ask if you would. So I'm glad you read my mind there.
We can do the wave too.
So be sure to post your summit even on this, underneath this Facebook Live. So if people want to join, they can. And so, and we appreciate everybody that's been here. Be sure to not just like, but to love it and leave comments. If you have questions, ask, and Eric or we will go on there. And we just appreciate everybody for watching today.
We look forward for you to post that summit information.
I will post it. Thank you so much for having
That'd
me.
be great. Bye-bye, Eric.
Bye, Eric. Bye, everyone.